Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested, Alquist, Ashburn, Benoit, Calderon, Cedillo, Cogdill, Corbett, Correa, Cox, Denham, DeSaunier, DeChaney, Dutton, Flores, Hancock, Harmon, Hollingsworth, Huff, Kehoe, Leno, Liu, Lowenthal, Maldonado, Negrete McLeod, Oropesa, Padilla, Pavley, Price, Romero, Runner, Smidian, Steinberg, Strickland, Walters, Wiggins, Wolk, Wright, Weiland, Yee. Mr. President, we are absent.
The absence of a quorum having been duly noted, can we ask the Sergeant-at-Arms to lock the doors and call the absent members, please? Ladies and gentlemen, a quorum is present. Would the members and our guests beyond the rail and in the gallery please rise? We will be led in prayer this morning by our chaplain, Rabbi Mona Alfi, after which please remain standing. We will be led in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag by Senator Walters.
Good morning. What is life's heaviest burden? Asked a youth of a sad and lonely old man. To have nothing to carry, he answered. To care for others, to carry their concerns with our own, is not one of life's burdens, but a privilege. To stand separate and apart from the community, to carry none of the load in our arms or in our hearts, is to carry the greatest burden of all. To participate in both the struggles and celebrations of others is to live a life of meaning. May the Holy One grant us the ability to see our burdens as blessings, our responsibilities as the source of our strength, and our work as meaningful. May this be God's will. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Privileges of the floor, members. Senator Cox, for what purpose do you rise, sir?
Members, under Senate Rule 2910, I would move file item number 41, which is Senate Bill 88. Would move that to be referred to the Senate Local Government Committee on Local Government. And, Mr. President, I believe the motion requires an immediate vote, and those who are present and voting are the factor.
Senator Cox, one moment, please, while I make sure that I confirm with you that we have the right item number, and then while I confirm the rules with our Secretary of the Senate. Just to be clear, this is file item 41. Did I hear you correctly, sir? This is file item 41, sir?
I 41 and Senate Bill 88, yes, sir.
Thank you. And the request pursuant to Rule 2910 is to send the bill to
Mr. President, I've just had a conversation with President Pro Tem. I'm satisfied with his explanation of this particular bill, so I'll withdraw that motion.
a happy outcome. Thank you very much, Senator Cox. Are there other items under privileges of the floor? Privileges of the floor, members.
No.
Senator Liu.
Motions and resolutions.
Under motions and resolutions, Senator Liu.
Thank you, Mr. President. File item 31, SB 629. Move to the inactive file, please.
Members, that is file item 31, SB 629, moved to inactive at the request of the author. Thank you, Senator Liu. Other items under motions and resolutions? Senator Cox, for what purpose do you rise?
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I wanted to call to the attention of the body that I'd like to ask that we adjourn in memory of Betty Plow. Betty Plow is a former Sacramento resident. She passed away peacefully on August the 31st. She's a longtime resident of Sacramento. Betty took great pride from her civic involvement with the Sacramento Assistance League, the Children's Receiving Home, and the Symphony League. Betty was an accomplished painter and cook, and she treasured the time that she spent with her late husband, Gene Plow. And obviously, Betty will be missed by her family and the residents of Sacramento, and ask that we acknowledge the passing of Betty Plow.
Thank you, Senator Cox, and please share the condolences of the Senate with the friends and family. And if we could ask that you be sure to have that name brought forward to the desk so that her passing can be properly memorialized. Senator Romero, for what purpose do you rise?
Yes, please. Under motions and resolutions, please remove AB 46 from special consent. That's AB 46.
AB 46 to be removed from special consent. Thank you very much. Do we have any other items under motions and resolutions before we commence to work the daily file, members? If not, then on consideration of the daily file, we will begin with Assembly third reading, beginning with file item 79. File item 79, members. File item 79 by Assemblymember Hill. Do we have a floor manager? File item 80, Assemblymember De Leon. Do we have a floor manager? File item 81, Mr. Cook. Do we have a floor manager? File item 82, Mr. Navis measure. Ms. Wolk, are you ready to present, Senator? No. File item 83 by Mr. Krikorian. Senator Hancock, are you ready to present on this item? Passed temporarily. Thank you. File item 84, Mr. De La Torre. This is Assemblymember De La Torre. Do we have a floor manager? File item 85. This is former Assemblymember Duvall. Mr. Correa, do you wish to present on this item?
I'd like to move that to the inactive list.
File item 85, without objection, to the inactive file. File item 86.
People want an explanation.
Senator Cedillo, not at his desk. File item 87. Senator Calderon, not at his desk. File item 88, Senator Flores. Senator Flores, would you like to take up file item 88? This is a lieu bill. Pass on file, thank you. File item 89, Committee on Governmental Organization. Mr. Price, not at his desk. File item 90, members. Senator Lowenthal, not at his desk. File item 91, a Huffman bill, Senator Pavley. Pass. File item 92, there's a measure by Mr. Tirico. Do we have a floor manager? File item 93, a measure by Mr. De La Torre. Do we have a floor manager? File item 94, this is a measure by Mr. Davis. Senator Hancock, are you prepared to present? Pass. File item 95, this is by Assemblymember Hayashi. Senator DeSaulnier, not at his desk. File item 96, a measure by Assemblymember Huber. Senator Strickland, are you prepared to take this up? Pass. Thank you. File item 97, this is a Nava measure. Senator Pavley. Pass. File item 98, this is a Fuentes measure. Do we have a floor manager? This is file item 99, a Portantino measure. Senator Yee, not at his desk. File item 100, De Leon, do we have a floor manager? File item 121, Ms. Brownlee, floor manager, is submitting at the request of the author. We will take this item and move it to the inactive file. Excuse me, this is file item 101, Assembly Bill number 572. At the request of the author, the measure will be placed on the inactive file. File item 102, Assemblymember Ma. Senator Wolk, would you like to present? Pass on file. Thank you. File item 103, there is a Ruskin bill. Senator Kehoe is the floor manager. Pass. Senator Lowenthal, for what purpose do you rise, sir?
To return into file item number 90, AB 291, to move it to the inactive file.
Was that file item 90?
File item 90, AB 291, to the inactive file as requested by the author.
Without objection, duly noted and so ordered. File item 90, AB 291, to the inactive file. Thank you, Senator Lowenthal. File item 104, Assemblymember Nava. Senator Negrete-McLeod? Pass. Thank you. Thank you. File item 105 by Assemblymember Liu. Senator Oropesa is the floor manager, not at her desk. File item 106, we have a measure by Assemblymember Amiano. Senator Liu is the floor manager. Pass temporarily. File item 107 is a pass. File item 108 We have a Budget Committee measure. Senator Duchesne on these budget matters. File item 108, passed temporarily, and 109, and 110, and 111, and 112, and 113, and 114, and 115, which then gets us to file item 116, Committee on Governmental Organization, and Senator Price, not at his desk. File item 117. This is a Nava bill. Ms. Kehoe. Senator Kehoe, would you like to? All right. File item 118 is a pass. File item 119 is a Brownlee measure. Senator Liu? Pass. All right. File item 120 is a Fuentes measure. Senator Padilla? Passed. File item 121 is a Portantino measure. Pass on that. Thank you, Senator Negrete-McLeod. File item 122 is a pass. File item 123 is a Manuel Perez bill. Mr. Padilla? Pass. File item 124 is a De Leon bill. Senator DeSaulnier is the floor manager. Pass. Thank you. File item 125 is a Huffman bill. Senator DeSaulnier is the floor manager. Senator DeSaulnier, welcome. Secretary will read.
Assembly Bill 1173 by Assemblymember Huffman, an act relating to hazardous materials.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm delighted to bring up AB 1173 by Assemblymember Huffman. 1173 would establish a first-time free and convenient recycling program for consumers to properly dispose of their used fluorescent lights. This bill will also require that these lights meet lamp life quality standards, including low mercury standards. California's efforts to increase the sales and use of fluorescent lamps has been enormously successful. However, there's no convenient and cost-effective infrastructure in place for California residents to recycle these lights. More than 90% of lamps continue to be improperly and illegally disposed by consumers who lack awareness and opportunity to recycle. Over the next 3 years alone, residential consumers will have to discard an estimated 60 million used fluorescent lamps. This measure tracks the majority of the recommendations in the DTSC's Lighting Task Force and represents 18 months of discussion and negotiation. It's supported by Californians Against Waste, California Refuse Recycling Council, the California Retailers Association, General Electric, and the Sierra Club, amongst just a few. I would respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? No. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? Benoit? No. Calderon? Cedillo? Cogdill? No. Corbett? Aye. Correa? No. Cox? No. Denham? DeSaulnier? Aye. Duchesne? Aye. Dutton? No. Flores? Hancock? Aye. Harmon? Aye. Hollingsworth? Huff? No. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Negrete-McLeod? No. Oropesa? Padilla? Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Aye. Runner? No. Smidian? Aye. Steinberg? Aye. Strickland? No. Walters? No. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Aye. Wright? No. Wyland? No. Yee? Denham, no.
Call the absent members.
Ashburn? Calderon? Cedillo? Flores, Hollingsworth, Maldonado, Oropesa, Padilla, Flores, aye. Yee.
Ayes 18, noes 14. Senator DeSaulnier moves a call. File item 126. It's Mr. Huffman. Do we have a floor manager? File item 127. Mr. Torlakson, do we have a floor manager? File item 128. Do we have a floor manager for Assemblymember Caballero? And file item 129. Senator Liu. Secretary will read.
Assembly Bill 938 by the Assembly Committee on Judiciary, an act relating to children.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, often when children are removed from their parents because of abuse or neglect, they are removed from their families and their communities, even when loving relatives could step in and care for them. New federal laws requires that relatives be notified when children are removed from their parents and placed in foster care, thus increasing the likelihood that loving relatives will be able to care for them. AB 939 implements the federal mandate by requiring that social workers or probation officers look for relatives within 30 days of a child being placed in foster care and provide them with information about the various options for being involved in the child's life. The bill also allows relatives to provide the social worker and the court with information about the child's needs, thus increasing the likelihood that the child's rights to safety, permanency, and well-being will be met. This bill has no opposition, has received no votes. This bill makes sure that we are in compliance with federal requirements, thus preventing loss of critical federal foster care dollars, and I ask for your support on this bill.
Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested, Alquist, aye. Ashburn, Benoit, aye. Calderon, Cedillo, Cogdill, aye. Corbett, aye. Correa, aye. Cox, aye. Denham, aye. DeSaulnier, DeCheney, aye. Dutton, aye. Flores, aye. Hancock, aye. Harmon, aye. Hollingsworth, aye. Huff, aye. Kehoe, aye. Leno, aye. Liu, aye. Lowenthal, aye. Maldonado, Negrete McLeod, aye. Oropesa, Padilla, Pavley, aye. Price, aye. Romero, aye. Runner, aye. Smidian,
Aye.
aye. Steinberg, aye. Strickland, aye. Walters, aye. Wiggins, aye. Wolk, aye. Wright, aye. Wyland, aye. Yee. DeSaulnier, aye.
Call the absent members.
Onnested, aye. Ashburn, Calderon, Cedillo, Calderon, aye. Maldonado, Oropesa, Padilla, Yee. Ashburn, aye.
Call the absent members.
Yee, aye. Cedillo, Maldonado, Oropesa, Padilla.
Ayes 36, noes 0. The bill is passed. Members, we've completed Assembly third reading. At this time, I'd like to suggest that we take up unfinished business. Before we do that, however, Senator Woke, do I understand that you have an item you'd like to remove?
You do, Mr. President. File item 102, AB 759, Assemblymember Ma. Move that to the inactive file, please.
At the request of the author. Thank you, Senator Woke. That is file item 102, AB 759 by Assemblymember Ma. Moved to inactive at the request of the author. Members, that takes us to unfinished business. File item 30. Senator Wolk, do I understand that you have 3 items that you have for concurrence?
On concurrence, I do.
All right. Well, then I think that would allow us to double our output of the last half hour. So why don't we go straight to you and allow you to take those matters up?
All right. File items 64, 65, and 66.
We will be at file item 64 then. Secretary will read.
Senate Bill 676 by Senator Wolk, an act relating to local fees.
Mr. President and members, in these tough budget times, counties like the state are faced with severe budget shortfalls, local revenues falling at the same time that we're reducing our support. 676 does not raise fees, but gives counties the flexibility to update 11 existing fees that have not been updated in many years, most for more than 20. The new limits are reasonable and within CPI adjustments.
Members, if we could have quiet while Senator Wolk is presenting, please.
No matter what the statutory cap, a fee may never go beyond the cost of providing the service. The Assembly amendments removed one of the adjustments at the request of the Governor's office and made other clarifying and technical amendments, supported by CSAC, the sheriffs, chief probation officers, as well as numerous counties. The realtors are neutral. There is no opposition, and I ask for an aye vote in concurrence.
Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? No. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? Benoit? Ashburn, no. Benoit? No. Calderon? Aye. Cedillo?
Thank you.
Cogdill? No. Corbett? Aye. Correa?
Everybody's a little more sensitive
No.
on mics
Cox?
today than they were yesterday.
No. Denham? No. DeSaulnier? Aye. Duchesne? Dutton? No. Flores? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Harmon? No. Hollingsworth? No. Huff? No. Kehoe? Leno? Aye. Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Aye.
Members, the desk staff is having trouble hearing the votes. It will help a long day go more quickly if we can keep order in the chamber. Please proceed with the roll call.
Maldonado? Negrete McLeod? No. Oropesa? Padilla? Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Aye. Runner? No. Semidian? Aye. Steinberg? Aye. Strickland? No. Walters? No. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk?
Aye.
Aye. Wright? Wyland? No. Yee? Yee, aye.
Call the absent members.
Wright, aye. Cedillo? Duchesne? Kehoe?
Oh, Christine.
Aye. Maldonado? Oropesa? Padilla?
Call the absent members.
Cedillo? Duchesne? Maldonado? Oropesa? Padilla? Duchesne, aye.
Ayes 20. Ayes 20, no 16. Senator Wolk moves a call. Thank you. Senator Wolk, that takes us to file item 65. Secretary will read.
Senate Bill 679 by Senator Wolk, an act relating to state parks.
Mr. President, 679 is a bill that protects the California state park system. We've seen how development pressures can create tremendous pressure on our state parks to use land for non-park purposes. This is a bill that recognizes that sometimes proposals that will require a balance of competing interests. The Assembly amendments do the following. They clarify language regarding substitute lands, expand the facts that the Commission must consider, exempt existing uses authorized prior to January 1st, 2010, and allow the Commission to approve the method of land substitution, whether through financing or actual land. I ask for your aye vote in concurrence.
Debate or discussion, members? Seeing and hearing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? No. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? No. Benoit? No. Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Cogdill? No. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Cox? No. Denham? No. DeSaulnier? Aye. DeCheney? Aye. Dutton? No. Flores? Hancock? Aye. Harmon? No. Hollingsworth? No. Huff? No. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Aye. Runner? No. Semidian? Aye. Steinberg? Strickland? No. Walters? No. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Wyland? No. Yee? Yee, aye. Padilla, aye. Cedillo? Correa? Correa, no. Flores? Maldonado? Oropesa? Steinberg?
Ayes 20, noes 15. Senator Wolk moves a call. That takes us to file item 66. Senator Wolk, Secretary will read.
Senate Bill 716 by Senator Wolk, an act relating to transportation.
Mr. President, 716 clarifies that farm worker van pool services are eligible for funds clearly after all transit needs have been met, and updates the Transportation Development Act of 1971, which hasn't been updated in 3 decades. The amendments that were taken in the Assembly further address the concerns of the opposition. They do several things, but most importantly, extend the implementation date to 2014 to allow a transition and ensure that all cities within rural counties with more than 100,000 people expend appropriate funds for mass transit services. I ask for an aye vote. I ask for your concurrence in Assembly amendments.
Thank you. Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? No. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? No. Benoit? No. Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Cogdill? No. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Aye. Cox? No. Denham? No. DeSaulnier? Aye. DeCheney? Aye. Dutton? No. Flores? Hancock? Aye. Harmon? No. Hollingsworth? Huff? No. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Aye. Runner? No. Semidian? Aye. Steinberg? Strickland? Walters? No. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Aye. Wright? Wyland? No. Yee? Yee, aye. Wright, aye. Cedillo? Flores? Hollingsworth? Maldonado? Oropesa? Steinberg? Aye. Strickland?
Ayes 22, noes 12. The amendments are concurred in. Thank you, Senator Wolk. Members, a couple of housekeeping items. Pursuant to Senate Rule 2910, the following bill is referred to the Rules Committee. It is file item 56, SB 400. Once again, pursuant to Senate Rule 2910, the following bill is referred to the Rules Committee. That is file item 56, SB 400. Also, without objection, Senate Bill 88, which is file item number 41, will be withdrawn from the floor and re-referred to the Committee on Rules. Duly noted and so ordered. Members, we're going to go back to file item 30 and begin at the beginning for unfinished business. I will walk through each of these items in order. File item 30, back on concurrence, is Senator Cedillo, not at his desk. File item 31 has been withdrawn. File item 32, Senator Calderon. File item 32, this is your SB 291. Would you like to take that item up, sir?
Can I pass temporarily?
Pass temporarily. File item 33, Senator Negrete McLeod. We'll pass temporarily. File item 34, Senator Lowenthal. Would you like to take this measure up? Pass. File item 35, Senator Oropesa, not at her desk. File item 36, Senator Lowenthal. Secretary will read.
Senate Bill 41 by Senator Lowenthal, an act relating to firearms.
Thank you, Mr. President. SB 41 requires gun dealers to obtain the buyer's signature on the dealer's record of sales form upon delivery of the handgun and provide a copy of the form to the buyer. The bill also makes changes to firearm reporting procedures by law enforcement agencies. The amendments in the Assembly simply remove the provisions that the Department of Justice determined the provisions the Department of Justice determined were duplicative or addressed in SB 449 by Senator Padilla. They also addressed language to stop a potential overcharge, and they added chaptering amendments. The bill before you today reflects technical assistance from leading firearm consumer groups, as well as the Department of Justice. I respectfully ask for an aye on concurrence in Assembly amendments.
Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? No. Benoit? No. Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Cogdill? No. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Cox? No. Denham? No. DeSaulnier? Aye. DeCheney? Aye. Dutton? No. Flores? Hancock? Aye. Harmon? No. Hollingsworth? No. Huff? Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Negrete McLeod? Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Aye. Runner? No. Semidian?
Aye.
Aye. Steinberg? Aye. Strickland? No. Walters? No. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Wyland? No. Yee? Yee, aye.
Call the absent members.
Onnested? No. Cedillo? Correa? Flores? Huff? Maldonado? Negrete McLeod? Oropesa?
Ayes 20, noes 13. Senator Lowenthal moves the call. Thank you. File item 37. Pass. These are budget items. Are we?
Yeah, but they're not. These are majority vote bills.
Thank you. Secretary will read.
Senate Bill 72 by the Committee on Budget and Fiscal Review, and Act relating to state employees.
Thank you very much. Mr. President and members, this is a general government technical cleanup bill dealing with public employees. It makes no substantive changes to provisions associated with payday deferral and the rebates that were adopted in the general government trailer bill of July's budget package, but it does clarify that the payday deferral applies only to the June 30th checks and makes technical clarifying amendments to the provision authorizing the public employees retirement system to use reserves generated by one or more self-funded benefit plans to reduce the premiums charged. These are largely cleanup measures to the July budget package that were requested by Finance. Ask for your aye vote.
Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Secretary will call the roll.
Onnested? No. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? No. Benoit? No. Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Cogdill? No. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Cox? No. Denham? DeSaulnier? Aye. Duchesne? Aye. Dutton? No. Flores? Hancock? Aye. Harmon? No. Hollingsworth? No. Huff? No. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Aye. Runner? No. Smidian?
Aye.
Aye. Steinberg? Aye. Strickland? No. Walters? No. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Aye. Wright? Wyland? No. Yee? Yee aye. Denham no. Cedillo aye.
Ayes 21, noes 14.
You can move it. I don't know.
The amendments are concurred in. Final item 38. Secretary will read.
Senate Bill 73 by the Committee on Budget and Fiscal Review, an act relating to state fees.
Majority vote. Let's go to 39 and just clear that up. It's our understanding that it's a majority vote bill.
Members, one moment while we confirm that the prior measure, file item 37, was indeed a majority vote bill.
The prior one was. This one's the question. This is the one that's in question.
File item 38 is also indicated as a simple majority vote bill. One moment, please, while we allow our Republican colleagues to confer with their staff.
You go to 39.
On file item 38, members, we have verified that this is a simple majority measure. The Secretary will read. We are at file item 38.
Senate Bill 73 by the Committee on Budget and Fiscal Review, an act relating to state fees.
Thank you very much. Again, members, this is a cleanup to the general government trailer bill from the July budget package. It makes no substantive changes to the provisions in the trailer bill. However, it does increase some mobile home registration fees, permits to operate, things that fees that are already charged, but increasing them to allow the department to continue to provide the enforcement services that they do, increases fees on providers of employee housing, and employees who use that housing to maintain minimal safety inspection services to those facilities, and suspends until July 2012 the requirement that the Department of Housing and Community Development provide an annual employee housing report. It also creates a labor enforcement compliance fund funded by surcharges and employees to support activities of the Department of Labor Standards Enforcement within the Department of Industrial Relations that will sunset in 2013. Ask for your aye vote.
Debate or discussion? Senator Dutton.
Yeah, I need a clarification. Maybe Senator Cheney can help me with this. During the budget process, unfortunately, a lot of times we try to balance our cash flow requirement by pulling money out of special funds. I'm assuming these fees are going into special funds, but my question is, are any of these funds the ones that the state has taken money from in order to handle general fund expenditures, and therefore this becomes part of the reason why we don't have sufficient dollars in these special funds and find it necessary to raise fees?
Senator Dutton, I can speak directly to the housing fees. I know the Labor Enforcement Compliance is a new fund to fund the specific enforcement activities. The housing funds, these have been debated over the years, what the rate should be in order to ensure compliance. My sense is that we are not providing general fund support to Department of Housing and Community Services for these inspection activities anymore. That's why we're suspending the reporting requirement, give them a little more flexibility, but increasing the fees in order to make sure that we have minimal safety inspection compliance.
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask my members to vote no on this item, because in the past what's happened, the state, part of the reason why we're in this trouble is because we do take money from special funds. And I think we just have to have some really strong discipline before we start raising fees. And this is my concern about this bill, because it has been a practice of the state to actually borrow money but never pay it back. Thank you.
Further debate or discussion, members? If not, Senator Duchesne, you may close.
No, thank you very much, Mr. President. Members, Senator Dutton's point is well taken. We shouldn't be doing that. However, when there are insufficient resources all the way around, all of the tricks of the trade become available to the Department of Finance and certainly for cash flow purposes. However, most of these fees are directly related to the ability to provide safe inspection, safe housing, and in the case of the labor enforcement, to enforce new labor laws that keep workers safe. Ask for your aye vote.
Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? No. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? No. Benoit? No. Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? No. Corbett? Aye. Correa? No. Cox? No. Denham? No. DeSaulnier? Aye. Duchesne? Aye. Dutton? No. Flores? Hancock? Aye. Harmon? No. Hollingsworth? No. Huff? No. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Aye. Runner? No. Semidian?
Aye.
Aye. Steinberg? Strickland? No. Walters? No. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Wright? Aye. Weiland? No. Yee? Yee, aye.
Call the absent members.
Flores? Negrete McLeod? Oropesa? Steinberg? Wolk? Wolk, aye.
Ayes 21, noes 15. The amendments are concurred in. File item 39. Secretary will read.
Senate Bill 75 by the Committee on Budget and Fiscal Review, an act relating to the judiciary.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, members, this bill makes technical changes, again, necessary to meet the intent of the provisions enacted in the Judiciary Budget Trailer Bill. The main issues here are ensuring that the intent of the court closure legislation, that a furlough not impact an employee's service credit or benefit for retirement purposes, conforms the fee distribution statutes for first paper filings to reflect increases contained in other budget-related legislation, makes the language Government Code section consistent with the current practice of providing authority to use electronic recording to monitor courtroom performance of subordinate judicial officers, hearing officers, temporary judges, and not in taking out the more general term judicial officer, because it is only for commissioners and hearing officers, and also makes an amendment to allow the $10 increase in court security fee already voted on. That fee is not in this bill, to be distributed to in the same order of distribution as other court security fees. It is a cleanup bill to the judiciary trailer. Ask for your aye vote.
Debate or discussion, members? Seeing and hearing none, Secretary will call the roll.
Onnested? Aye. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? Benoit? Aye. Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? Aye. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Aye. Cox? Aye. Denham? DeSaulnier? Aye. Duchesne? Aye. Dutton? Flores? Hancock? Aye. Harmon? Aye. Hollingsworth? No. Huff? Aye. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Aye. Runner? Semidian? Aye. Steinberg? Strickland? Aye. Walters? Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Wyland? Aye. Yee? Yee aye. Runner aye. Dutton no.
Call the absent members.
Denham no. Ashburn? Aye. Flores? Maldonado? Orope? Maldonado, aye. Okay. Strickland, aye to no. Oropesa, Steinberg, Walters.
Ayes 32, noes 4. The amendments are concurred in. File item 40, Senator Yee. Secretary will read.
Senate Bill 86 by Senator Yee, an act relating to public post-secondary education.
Thank you very much, Mr. President and Senators. This bill is back from the Assembly on concurrence. The provisions are nearly identical to SB 217 that passed this House 35-3. As we all know, we have seen rather extraordinary executive compensations and benefits to our UC and CSU executives. And one of the efforts on my part and many others in this particular House is to figure out how we can rein them in. The argument has always been about, well, you cannot somehow rein that in because you don't want to disadvantage the UCs and CSU by being less competitive in bringing talented individuals. So what this measure will do is to not stifle that. But once you're in the system, that in these tough economic times, one ought not to be giving these extraordinary raises to some of our top executives. And that's all this bill will do. Now, the arguments that have been given by UC and CSU is that this is going to cost people more money. This is going to cost the institution money. Now, I don't know what school they went to, but in the school that I went to, if you somehow rein in the cost, in fact, you save money. So this is really about helping our UC and CSU to save a little bit more money, maybe then forestall some of the fee increases against our students, probably, hopefully, helping some of our workers getting at least a decent wage so that all individuals within the CSU and UC can be adequately compensated. With that, urge an aye vote.
Debate or discussion. Senator Romero.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. I rise in strong support of this measure. Members, I'm a graduate of both the Cal State University system and the University of California. I'm also the parent of a daughter who recently graduated from the University of California and who helped pay off student loans to attend the UC. We know that the state auditor recently released a report that shows clearly that within a 5-year period of time between 2002 and 2007, executive compensation increased by over 21%. The UC represents and has over 200,000 students. The CSU has over 400,000 students. What this bill says is basically CSU and UC live within your means. Haven't we heard this on this floor over and over? Live within your means. And at a time when we are telling almost everyone else, workers, faculty, students to take furloughs, to pay student fee increases, parents to pay more on student loans, this measure just simply says during those times when we are experiencing a budget crisis that they should forego compensation increases, those at the highest ranks of the CSU and UC. I urge an aye on this measure, and I think it's a good measure, a sensible measure, and one that's fiscally sound.
Debate or discussion? Further debate or discussion, members? Seeing and hearing none, Senator Yee, you may close.
Urge an aye vote on concurrence on Senate amendment or Assembly amendment.
Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested. Aye. Alquist. Aye. Ashburn. Benoit. Calderon. Aye. Cedillo. Cogdill. Aye. Corbett. Aye. Correa. Aye. Cox. Aye. Denham. Aye. DeSaulnier. Aye. Duchesne. Dutton. Aye. Flores. Hancock. Aye. Harmon. Aye. Hollingsworth. Huff. Aye. Kehoe. Leno. Aye. Liu. No. Lowenthal. Aye. Maldonado. Aye. Negrete McLeod. Aye. Oropesa. Padilla. Pavley. Price. Aye. Romero. Aye. Runner. Aye. Semidian. No. Steinberg. Strickland. Aye. Walters. Aye. Wiggins. Aye. Wolk. No. Wright. Aye. Wyland. Aye. Yee. Yee. Aye.
Members, one moment, please. Secretary, call the absent members.
Ashburn. Aye. Benoit. Aye. Cedillo. No. Duchesne. Aye. Flores. Hollingsworth. Aye. Kehoe. Oropesa. Padilla. Aye. Pavley. No. Steinberg.
Ayes 31, noes 5. The amendments are concurred in. File item 42. Senator Wiggins, Secretary will read.
Senate Bill 99 by the Committee of Local Government, enacting to joint exercise of powers.
This is SB 99, number 42. President and members, in response to cost concerns, Assembly amendments to SB 99 eliminated a requirement to file the text of joint powers agreements with the Secretary of State's office. This bill has no opposition. I ask for concurrence in the Assembly amendments.
Thank you. Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested. Aye. Alquist. Aye. Ashburn. Aye. Benoit. Aye. Calderon. Aye. Cedillo. Aye. Cogdill. Aye. Corbett. Aye. Correa. Aye. Cox. Aye. Denham. Aye. DeSaulnier. Aye. Duchesne. Dutton. Flores. Hancock. Aye. Harmon. Hollingsworth. Aye. Huff. Aye. Kehoe. Aye. Leno. Aye. Liu. Aye. Lowenthal. Aye. Maldonado. I, Negrete McLeod. I, Oropesa Padilla. Pavley. I, Price. Romero. I, Runner. I, Smidian.
Aye.
I, Steinberg. Strickland. I, Walters. I, Wiggins. I, Wolk. I, Wright. I, Wyland. I, Yee. Yee, aye. Harmon, aye.
Call the absent members.
DeCheney. Dutton. I, Flores. Oropesa. Padilla. Price. I, Steinberg. DeCheney, aye.
Ayes 36, noes 0. The amendments are concurred in. File item 43, Senator Oropesa, not at her desk. File item 44, Senator Correa. Secretary will read.
Senate Bill 111 by Senator Correa, an act relating to mobile home parks.
Mr. President and Senators, this bill deals with the reorganization of the mobile home park residency law. As it left the Senate, this bill reorganized and renumbered 14 sections of this law. Assembly amendments narrowed the bill considerably by reducing the number of sections reorganized to 6 and renumbered 4 of those sections. The purpose of this bill is clear and simple ones: to make the law more readable and make those sections easier to find for residents and park managers alike. With the Assembly amendments, the opposition has been removed. That is, park owners, WMA, and CMPA have removed their opposition. On behalf of John Tennyson, the chief consultant to the Manufactured Homes Committee, who's assisted many of your constituents and mine and staff members alike on many of these issues, and who will soon retire after a long career with the Senate, I ask for an aye vote on concurrence of this measure.
Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested. Alquist. I, Ashburn. Benoit. I, Calderon. I, Cedillo. I, Cogdill. Corbett. I, Correa. Cox. I, Denham. DeCheney. DeSaulnier. I, Dutton. Flores. Hancock. Harmon. I, Hollingsworth. No. Huff. No. Kehoe. I, Leno. I, Liu. I, Lowenthal. I, Maldonado. I, Negrete McLeod. I, Oropesa. Padilla. Pavley. I, Price. I, Romero. I, Runner. I, Samidian. I, Steinberg. Strickland. I, Walters. No. Wiggins. I, Wolk. I, Wright. I, Wyland. I, Yee. Yee, aye. Cogdill, aye. Dutton, no. DeCheney, aye. Onnested, aye. Denham, aye. Ashburn, aye.
All right. Call the absent members.
Correa, aye. Flores. Hancock, aye. Oropesa. Padilla. Steinberg.
Ayes 32, noes 4. The amendments are concurred in. Members, before we move forward to file item 45, I wonder if you could take a moment and join me in welcoming a guest from Silicon Valley, Allison Abramovitz, who's in the rear of the chambers. Thank you. File item 45, Senator Corbett. Secretary will read.
Senate Bill 117 by Senator Corbett, an act relating to adult day health care.
Thank you very much, Mr. President and Senators. Senate Bill 117 allows for an extension of time for the Department of Health Care Services to implement a new rate methodology for adult day health care programs. The amendments make technical and clarifying changes. I ask for your aye vote on concurrence.
Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? Benoit? Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? Aye. Corbett?
Aye.
Aye. Correa? Aye. Cox? No. Denham? Aye. DeSaulnier? Aye. Ducheney? Dutton? Flores? Hancock? Aye. Harmon? Aye. Hollingsworth? No. Huff? No. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Aye. Runner? Smidian?
Aye.
Aye. Steinberg? Strickland? Aye. Walters? No. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Wyland? Aye. Yee? Yee, aye. Ducheney, aye. Runner, no. Onnested, no. Dutton, no. Benoit, no. Leno, aye.
Call the absent members.
Ashburn? Flores? Oropesa? Padilla? Steinberg?
Ayes 27, noes 8. The amendments are concurred in. And Senator Corbett, while we have you at your desk, would you be prepared to take up file item 48?
Yes.
File item 48, members. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 140 by Senator Corbett, an act relating to nurseries and declaring the urgency thereof to take effect immediately.
Thank you again, Mr. President and Senators. This measure establishes an inspection program for nursery stock to protect our citrus industry from harmful diseases and pests. Assembly amendments simply clarify the scope of the testing to be performed and the cost of the program that will be paid for by the industry. This measure has received overwhelming bipartisan support, no votes in any committee, and obviously if you've been reading the news, this is a very, very important program to protect our agricultural industry. I respectfully ask for your aye vote on concurrence.
Debate or discussion? Members, is there any objection to substituting the unanimous roll call on this item? There is. Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? No. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? Benoit? Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? Corbett? Aye. Correa? Cox? Denham? DeSaulnier? Aye. Ducheney? Aye. Dutton? No. Flores? Hancock? Aye. Harmon? Hollingsworth? No. Huff? Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Aye. Runner? Smidian? Aye. Steinberg? Strickland? Walters? Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Wyland? Yee? Yee, aye. Correa, aye.
Call the absent members.
Ashburn? Benoit? Cogdill? Cox? Denham? Flores? Harmon? Huff? Maldonado? Oropesa? Padilla? Runner? Steinberg? Strickland? Walters? Wyland? Correa, aye to no.
Ayes 20, noes 4. The bill is on call. This is a 2/3 vote requirement. Members, back on file order. File item 46. File item 46. Senator Liu. Secretary will read.
Senate Bill 118 by Senator Liu, enacting to Child Welfare Services.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I ask for your aye vote in SB 118. The bill ensures that social workers record whether or not a child has a...
One moment, please, Senator. Members, if we could have full attention to Senator Liu, please.
Thank you, sir. This bill ensures that social workers record whether or not a child has a parent in jail or prison in a consistent data entry field in the child welfare database. Assembly amendments were technical in nature. The bill has been passed unanimously in the Senate and Assembly, and I ask for your aye vote.
Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? Aye. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? Benoit? Aye. Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? Aye. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Cox? Aye. Denham? DeSaulnier? Aye. Denham, aye. DeCheney? Dutton? Flores? Hancock? Aye. Harmon? Hollingsworth? Aye. Huff? Aye. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Maldonado? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Aye. Runner? Smidian?
Aye.
Aye. Steinberg? Strickland? Aye. Walters? Aye. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Wright? Aye. Wyland? Aye. Yee? Yee, aye. Correa, aye. Wolk, aye. DeCheney, aye. Dutton, aye.
Call the absent members.
Ashburn? Flores? Harmon? Lowenthal? Oropesa? Padilla? Runner? Aye. Steinberg?
Call the absent members.
Ashburn? Flores? Harmon? Lowenthal? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Steinberg?
Ayes 34, noes 0. The amendments are concurred in. File item 47, Senator Denham. File item 48 has already been taken up. File item 49, Senator Wright. Secretary will read.
Senate Bill 161 by Senator Wright, an act relating to health care coverage.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, this happens to be Ovarian Cancer Month. Next month will be Breast Cancer Month. I am myself a survivor of prostate cancer. This bill deals with cancer treatments in California. The bill did not receive any no votes when it left here. The Assembly amendments were technical in nature. Again, I don't want to suggest that there's no opposition because it does require that you treat oral medications the same as you treat intravenous medications for cancer treatment. The prognosis for cancer treatment specifically is that there are going to be far more oral medications in the future. This will place California with a number of states that have already adopted such policies. I would ask for an aye vote.
Debate or discussion, members? Seeing and hearing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? Aye. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? Benoit? Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Cogdill? Cedillo, aye. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Aye. Cox? Aye. Denham? Aye. DeSaulnier? Aye. DeCheney? Aye. Dutton? Flores? Hancock. Aye. Harmon. Hollingsworth. Huff. Kehoe. Aye. Leno. Aye. Liu. Aye. Lowenthal. Maldonado. Aye. Negrete McLeod. Aye. Oropesa. Padilla. Pavley. Aye. Price. Aye. Romero. Aye. Runner. Smidian.
Aye.
Aye. Steinberg. Strickland. Aye. Walters. No. Wiggins. Aye. Wolk. Aye. Wright.
Aye.
Aye. Wyland. Aye. Yee. Yee. Aye. Lowenthal. Aye. Ashburn. Aye. Huff. Aye. Benoit. No.
Call the absent members.
Cogdill. Dutton. No. Flores. Harmon. Hollingsworth.
Is he here?
Oropesa. Padilla. Runner. Aye. Steinberg.
Ayes 30, noes 3. The amendments are concurred in. Members, I'd like to lift the call at this time on file item 64. This is file item 64. This is Senator Wolk's SB 760. Excuse me. This is Senator Wolk's 676. Ms. Wolk's 676. It is file item 64. Secretary, call the absent members.
Cedillo. Aye. Maldonado. Oropesa. Padilla.
Ayes 21, no 16. The amendments are concurred in. The bill number, the file number. That brings us to file item 50, Senator Oropesa, not at her desk. File item 51, Senator Flores, not at his desk. File item Members, we have a request to lift the call on file item 36. This is Senate Bill 41 by Senator Lowenthal. It is file item 36. We will lift the call. Secretary, call the absent members.
Cedillo. Aye. Correa. Flores. Huff. Maldonado. Negrete McLeod. Oropesa. Hollingsworth. No. Ashburn. No to aye. Correa. No. Huff. No. Maldonado. Aye.
Members, 1 moment, please. Call the absent members.
Flores. Negrete McLeod. Oropesa.
Ayes 23, noes 14. The amendments are concurred in. Members, we're going to lift the call now on file item 68. Lifting the call on file item 68. This is the committee measure. Excuse me. Senator Pavley, you had asked for file item 68. Is that perhaps the bill number rather than the file item?
That is the file item number 68.
Do you want to take the item up?
Yes, I do.
Could we ask you to hold 1 moment, please?
Yes, you may.
All right. Members, we have 3 items on call. Let's see what we can clear. File item 125 is on call. Can we lift the call on file item 125?
Ashburn. Calderon. Calderon, aye. Cedillo. Aye. Hollingsworth. Cedillo, aye to no. Hollingsworth, no. Maldonado. Oropesa. Padilla. Yee. Yee, aye. Maldonado, aye. Ashburn, no.
Ayes 21, no 17. The bill is passed. We're going to lift the call now on file item 65, members. This is file item 65. Call the absent members.
Cedillo? Aye. Flores? Aye. Maldonado? Aye. Oropesa? Steinberg?
Ayes 23, noes 15. The amendments are concurred in. And we will lift the call finally on file item 48, SB 140. File item 48, two-thirds measure. Call the absent members.
Ashburn? Benoit? Cogdill? Cox? Denham? Flores? Aye. Harmon? Huff? Maldonado? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Runner? Steinberg? Strickland? Walters? Wyland? Walters, no.
Ayes 21, noes 5. Senator Corbett replaces the call. Members, without objection, the following resolutions will be withdrawn from committee and placed on today's special consent calendar without reference to file. These are ACR 75, ACR 76, ACR 77, and ACR 93. Again, without objection, the following resolutions will be withdrawn from committee and placed on today's special consent calendar without reference to file, ACR 75, 76, 77, and 93. Duly noted, so ordered. Members, that puts us back on unfinished business at file item 52. Senator Lowenthal.
Going for this one, if you.
Secretary will read.
Senate Bill 251 by the Committee on Transportation and Housing, and Act relating to housing.
Mr. President and members, SB 251 is this year's housing omnibus bill. It contains 8 non-controversial changes to housing law. I urge your aye vote.
Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none. Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? Aye. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? Benoit? Aye. Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? Aye. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Aye. Cox? Denham? Aye. DeSaulnier? Aye. DeCheney? Aye. Dutton? Aye. Flores? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Harmon? Aye. Hollingsworth? Aye. Huff? Aye. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Aye. Runner? Aye. Semidian? Aye. Steinberg? Strickland? Walters? Aye. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Wyland? Aye. Yee? Yee, aye. Strickland? Strickland, aye. Ashburn, aye. Cox? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Steinberg?
Ayes 37, noes 0. The amendments are concurred in. File item 53, Senator Alquist. Secretary will read.
Senate Bill 303 by Senator Alquist, an act relating to nursing facility residents.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. SB 303, which has received bipartisan support, would codify and strengthen existing regulations that protect a nursing home resident's right to give informed consent prior to the administration of psychotherapeutic drugs. While in the Assembly, I took amendments which were mostly technical in nature and also improved the bill by requiring facility staff to immediately refer any questions or concerns presented to them to the prescribing physician before administration of the drug. You may recall that SB 303 requires physicians to obtain informed consent and facilities to verify that. Ask for your support.
Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onstead? No. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? Benoit? No. Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? No. Corbett? Aye. Correa? No. Cox? No. Denham? No. DeSaulnier? Aye. Ducheney? Aye. Dutton? No. Flores? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Harmon? No. Hollingsworth? No. Huff? No. Kehoe? Leno? Aye. Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Papley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Aye. Runner? No. Smidian? Aye. Steinberg? Strickland? Walters? No. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Wyland? Yee? Yee, aye. Strickland, no.
Ayes 21, noes 13. The amendments are concurred in. File item 54. Mr. DeSaulnier. Pass. Thank you. File item 55. Senator Calderon. Secretary will read.
Senate Bill 397 by Senator Calderon, an act relating to life insurance.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, SB 397 creates additional protections for pre-need funeral and burial expense insurance policies. Pre-need policies typically provide for funeral and burial expenses of the insured. These policies provide seniors with the peace of mind that comes with knowing that their funeral expenses will be paid for. Assembly amendments clarify that policy changes only apply to funeral and burial expense policies and not other types of policies that are $15,000 or less. 397 expands the scope of the existing law by increasing the free look period to 60 days, during which a full refund is available. These changes will provide additional consumer protections to thousands of new policyholders. Respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Debate or discussion? Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onstead? Aye. Alquist? Ashburn? Benoit? Aye. Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? Aye. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Aye. Cox? Aye. Denham? DeSaulnier? Aye. Ducheney? Dutton? Aye. Flores? Hancock? Aye. Harmon? Aye. Hollingsworth? Aye. Huff? Aye. Kehoe? Leno? Aye. Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Negrete McLeod? Aye. Maldonado? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Aye. Runner? Aye. Smidian? Aye. Steinberg? Strickland? Aye. Walters? Aye. Wiggins? Wolk? Wright? Aye. Wyland? Aye. Yee? Yee, no. Yee, aye. Ducheney, aye. Denham, aye. Ashburn, aye. Alquist, no.
Ayes 32, noes 1. The measure is concurred in. File item 56, Senator Corbett. Excuse me. Forgive me. It's been removed. Thank you. File item 57, Senator Ducheney. Not at her desk. File item 58, Senator Romero. Secretary will read.
Senate Bill 471 by Senator Romero, an act relating to education.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. Members, this is the Golden State. California's next gold rush is going to be found in the petri dishes and laboratories of this very great state. But if we're going to produce the next generation of scientists, technicians, and others, we have to make sure that our schools are prepared. This bill does this. It requires that stem cells and biotech be included in existing science education and career development programs. The Assembly amendments help reduce fiscal costs and also included means to ensure that California students do not lag behind while we have a delay in adopting new science textbooks because of budget cuts. I ask for concurrence in the Assembly amendments.
Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? No. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? No. Benoit? Calderon? Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? No. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Cox? No. Denham? No. Desaulniers? Aye. DeCheney? Dutton? Flores? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Harmon? No. Hollingsworth? No. Huff? No. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Aye. Runner? No. Semidian? Aye. Aye. Steinberg? Strickland? Walters? No. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Weiland? Yee? Yee, aye. Strickland, no. Correa, aye. Benoit, no.
Call the absent members.
Calderon? DeCheney? Aye. Dutton? No. Oropesa? Padilla? Steinberg? Weiland?
Ayes 22, noes 13. The Assembly amendments are concurred in. File item 59, Senator Flores. Pass. File item 60, Senator Liu. Secretary will read.
Senate Bill 597 by Senator Liu, an act relating to services for children.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, SB 597 is a bill to conform state law to the 2008 federal legislation on adoptions and foster care, the Fostering Connections Act. Assembly amendments added conforming provisions dealing with the Adoption Assistance Program at the request of the Department of Social Services. The bill also now extends a sunset on an uncontroversial pilot program in mental health, and it provides staffing flexibility during this budget year for foster group homes. There is no opposition. It passed out of the Assembly on a 70-0 vote. I ask for your aye vote.
Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? No. Alquist? Onnested, no to aye. Alquist, aye. Ashburn? Aye. Benoit? Aye. Calderon? Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? Aye. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Aye. Cox? Aye. Denham? Aye. Desaulniers? DeCheney? Aye. Dutton? Flores? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Harmon? Hollingsworth? Huff? Aye. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero?
Aye.
Aye. Runner? I. Semidian. I. Steinberg. Strickland. I. Walters. I. Wiggins. I. Wolk. I. Wright. I. Wyland. I. Yee. Harmon, I.
Ayes 32, no 0. The amendments are concurred in. File item 61, Senator Huff. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 598 by Senator Huff, an act relating to vehicles.
Sorry, folks. This is my bill on ignition interlock device. We've seen it before. It's coming back. It's dual joined with another bill. These are will help create an opportunity for those who've been convicted of drunk driving to get in their car earlier by voluntarily putting us on there, putting on the device. And what it does is it helps train them in correct behavior. I urge your aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Is there any objection to using the unanimous roll call? Senator Wright.
You may recall on the other bill I stood up and was opposed. This bill is actually written properly because the manner in which it deals with the issue, it takes into account the second issuance of the ticket as opposed to the first issuance. It's unfortunate that these are double joined. I do intend to vote for this one. The first bill that we voted for was an awful abomination of public policy. This version actually makes sense. They were stuck together because the other bill would have probably been vetoed as it should have. This may get this bill vetoed, which is unfortunate because, again, the first bill was awful. This is a thoughtful measure, and I would urge an aye vote.
Is there any objection to using the unanimous roll call?
I'd like to thank Senator Wright for his sterling close.
Okay, seeing none, ayes 39, no 0. The amendments are concurred in. File item 62, Senator Negrete McLeod. Pass. File item 63, Senator Semidian. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 614 by Senator Semidian, an act relating to vessels.
Thank you, Madam President and members. Senate Bill 614 was amended in the Assembly. This was a largely technical bill, a sunset extension. In its original form, it remains largely technical and a sunset extension, but the Assembly amendments struck a revised definition in the bill due to late opposition, so that is not a controversy. It extends the sunset date from January 1st, 2010 to January 1st, 2014 in various provisions relating to vessel discharges, and it repeals an unnecessary and duplicative section in current law. There is no opposition, 77-0 on the Assembly side. I would respectfully ask for an aye vote on concurrence.
Is there any objection to using the unanimous roll call? Seeing none, ayes 39, no 0. The amendments are concurred in. File item 64, Senator Wool. Okay. That measure actually has been dispensed with. File item 67, Senator Wyland. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 788 by Senator Wyland, an act relating to professional clinical counselors.
Thank you, Madam President, Senators. Under current law, there are two master's level mental health practitioners. Those are marriage and family therapists and licensed clinical social workers. SB 788 seeks to add a third, the licensed professional counselor. All other states, all 49 other states, have this designation. This bill is necessary because California is facing a documented shortage of mental health professionals. Just to give you an idea of those who have come out saying that they need more licensees, we have the California Red Cross, we have the Navy and Veterans Department who need licensed counselors. They must be licensed to deal with a lot of veterans. We have several rural counties who desperately need these mental health practitioners. This bill will not cost the general fund. There will be no general fund costs. Those will be paid for by the appropriate fees.
Is there any discussion or debate? Is there any objection to using the unanimous roll call? Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested. Aye. Alquist. Aye. Ashburn. Benoit. Aye. Calderon. Cedillo. Aye. Cogdill. I. Corbett. I. Correa. Cox. I. Denham. I. DeSaulnier. DeCheney. I. Dutton. Flores. Hancock. I. Harmon. I. Hollingsworth. Huff. Kehoe. I. Leno. I. Liu. I. Lowenthal. Maldonado. I. Negrete McLeod. I. Oropesa. Padilla. I. Pavley. I. Price. I. Romero.
Aye.
I. Runner. Smidian. Steinberg. Strickland. I. Walters. Wiggins. I. Wolk. I. Wright. I. Wyland. I. Yee. Yee, no.
Ayes 25, noes 1. The amendments are concurred in. File item 68, Senator Pavley. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 833 by the Committee on Natural Resources and Water, an act relating to natural resources.
Thank you very much, Madam President and members. This bill is the Senate Natural Resources Water Committee's 2009 omnibus bill. It's a non-controversial bill. It simply provides technical cleanup language to existing legislation. All members of the Senate Natural Resources and Water Committee supported this measure. The Assembly amendment simply corrected the map that shows the exchange of public trust land on Treasure Island. I respectfully ask for your concurrence in Assembly amendments.
Is there any objection to using the unanimous roll call? Seeing none, ayes 39, noes 0. The amendments are concurred in. Members, we have completed unfinished business. Is there any other member who wishes to take up an item that remains on the unfinished business call at this time? Senator Flores, which item?
File item 51.
File item 51. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 213 by Senator Flores, an act relating to gambling.
Thank you. Members, this measure seeks to extend the moratorium which is existing law for another 5 years. This will ensure the California Cities for Self-Reliance and others will be able to look at their anticipated payments they receive from card clubs. And by extending moratorium, we have most of the compacts that will be expiring at the same time. This allows for a broader discussion in the legislature on gaming policy once all those items expire at the same time. Would ask for an aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Seeing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested. Aye. Alquist. Aye. Ashburn. Benoit. Calderon. Cedillo. Aye. Cogdill. Aye. Corbett. Correa. Aye. Cox. Denham. Aye. DeSaulnier. Aye. DeCheney. Aye. Dutton. Aye. Flores. Aye. Hancock. Aye. Harmon. Aye. Hollingsworth. Huff. Kehoe. Leno. Aye. Liu. Aye. Lowenthal. Aye. Maldonado. Negrete McLeod. Aye. Oropesa. Padilla. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Price. Aye. Romero.
Aye.
Aye. Runner. Smidian. Steinberg. Strickland. Walters. Aye. Wiggins. No. Wolk. Aye. Wright. Aye. Wyland. Yee. Yee, aye. Strickland, aye. Ashburn, no. Cox, aye. Huff, aye. Benoit, aye. Runner, aye. Corbett, aye.
Ayes 30, noes 2. The amendments are concurred in. Senator Cedillo? Senator Flores, for what purpose do you seek recognition?
Yes, Madam President, may I go to file item 59?
File item 59. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 517 by Senator Flores, an act relating to horse racing and declaring the urgency thereof to take effect immediately.
Thank you, members. This has to do with the horse racing industry and reinvesting in California growth. This bill would...
Excuse me, Senator Flores, if I can just indicate, this is an urgency measure. You may want to check with Republican colleagues to see if you want to take this item up at this time.
I think we're okay.
All right, proceed.
Senator Ashburn's vote is excluded. Members, this would authorize the Thoroughbred Association to file a written notice with the California Horse Racing Board to alter the amount deducted, the takeout, from horse race wagering and allow these funds to be modified or redirected. It is about the horse racing industry. There's broad support. This will allow for the ongoing operations and success of an industry that needs help at this point in time. Would ask for an aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Seeing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested, Alquist, aye. Ashburn, Benoit, Calderon, Cedillo, Cogdill, Cedillo, aye. Cogdill, Corbett, aye. Correa, aye. Cox, Denham, DeSaulnier, Ducheney, aye. Dutton, Flores, aye. Hancock, aye. Harmon, Hollingsworth, no. Huff, Kehoe, aye. Leno, aye. Liu, aye. Lowenthal, aye. Maldonado, Negrete McLeod, aye. Oropesa, Padilla, aye. Pavley, aye. Price, aye. Romero, aye. Runner, Semidian, Steinberg, Strickland, Walters, Wiggins, aye. Wolk, aye. Wright, aye. Weiland, Yee, aye.
Call the absent members.
Onnested, Ashburn, Benoit, Calderon, Cogdill, Cox, Denham, DeSaulnier, no. Dutton, Harmon, Huff, Maldonado, Oropesa, Runner, Semidian, Steinberg, Strickland, Walters, Weiland.
Ayes 20, noes 2. Senator Flores moves a call. Senator DeSaulnier, are you prepared to take up file item 54? Okay. Senator Ducheney, not at her desk. Senator Cedillo, not at his desk. Members, we have completed unfinished business. Is there a member who has an item under Assembly Bill's third reading file to present at this time? Senator Liu, which item?
I have two.
First item?
Well, I'll give you the first.
And other members, if you have items, please bring them to the dais. We'll just go in order.
It's it's file item 119, AB 429.
File item 119. Secretary, please read. File item 119.
Assembly Bill 429 by Assembly Member Brownlee, an act relating to public schools accountability.
Madam President, members, I ask for your support on SB 429. This bill requires the Superintendent of Public Instruction Advisory Committee to make recommendations for the establishment of a methodology for measuring a school's academic achievement growth and a pupil's academic achievement growth more accurately and validly over time. The committee will consider a specified pilot study of academic growth measures in making its recommendations to the SPI. The recommendations will be consistent with specified federal laws. The SBI will be required to immediately forward the committee's recommendations to specified state entities. This bill will not be implemented unless and until funds are appropriated by the legislature in the Annual Budget Act or another statute. This bill has no opposition and has had unanimous votes in all the committees and on the Assembly floor, and I ask for your aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested, aye. Alquist, aye. Ashburn, I. Benoit. Calderon. Cedillo. I. Cogdill. I. Corbett. I. Correa. I. Cox. Denham. I. DeSaulnier. I. Ducheney. Dutton. I. Flores. I. Hancock. I. Harmon. Hollingsworth. No. Huff. I. Kehoe. Leno. I. Liu. I. Lowenthal. I. Maldonado. I. Negrete McLeod. I. Oropesa. Padilla. I. Pavley. I. Price. I. Romero. Runner. I. Semidian. I. Steinberg. Strickland. I. Walters. I. Wiggins. I. Wolk. I. Wright. I. Weiland. I. Yee. Yee. I. Cox. I. Benoit. I. Kehoe. I. Hollingsworth. No to I.
Ayes 34, no 0. The bill is passed. Senator Cox, for what purpose do you rise?
Would it be appropriate at this point, Madam President, to introduce to you the Wood Creek High School folks who are up in the balcony now from Roseville right up here?
Welcome to the California State Senate. Thank you, Senator Cox. Senator Liu, for what purpose do you rise?
I have another bill to take up.
One moment. Senator Negrete McLeod.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, we have a B&P hearing off the floor, 3191, to hear one bill, Skinner, AB 560, as soon as Ms. Liu is finished with her second bill.
As soon as the second item from Senator Liu is concluded, B&P 3191 to hear one bill. Senator Liu, which
Thank
item?
you, Madam President. File item 106.
File item 106. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 295 by Assemblymember Ammiano, enact relating to public social services.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, AB 295 is a simple, cost-effective measure that reaffirms the state's commitment to fostering permanency and maintaining lifelong connections for at-risk and troubled youth. AB 295 simply extends the time frame for expenditures and reporting in a pilot program that focuses on pre-adoption and post-adoption services. This program will not cost the state any new funding and will, in fact, bring in more federal funding to the state. The bill has received unanimous bipartisan support throughout both houses and is sponsored by the City and County of San Francisco and the County Welfare Directors Association. I urge your aye vote on this measure. Thank you.
Is there any discussion or debate? Seeing none, Secretary. Actually, is there any objection to using the unanimous roll call on this item? Seeing none, ayes 39, no 0. The bill is passed. Senator Price, file item 116. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 1575 by the Assembly Committee on Governmental Organization, enact relating to horse racing and making an appropriation therefor.
Senator Price, this is a 2/3 vote threshold. You may want to consult with Republican leadership, unless you wish to take it up.
Let me take it up.
All right, Secretary, please read.
Yes. This is a GO bill, an Assembly GO bill that makes numerous technical, clarifying, and conforming changes to the Horse Racing Act. The bill takes into consideration current practices and procedures of the California Horse Racing Board to ensure the protection of the wagering public while providing oversight for each type of horse racing conducted in California. Specifically, the bill allows the Northern, Central, and Southern Thoroughbred Association, subject to the approval of the California Horse Racing Board, to increase the amount set aside under current law for simulcast operating expenses from 2.5 up to 4% under specified conditions. It also revises the manner in which supplemental purses are distributed and received by the LA County Fair. It clarifies the stated the purpose of SB 16 by stating that from all revenue transferred and deposited in the Fairs and Exhibition Fund, an amount of $1.1 million may be allocated to supplement
118.
purses at fairs who conduct a live horse race as mandated under current law. It also includes outriders in the definition of racing officials, thus requiring them to be licensed as specified. The bill clarifies requirements of oral examinations of stewards and veterinarians. There's no opposition, and I ask for your aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Senator Duval. Senator Dutton. It was an open mic. I'm sorry. Freudian slip.
God, I don't know. I'll tell you what.
I apologize.
That's okay. That's understood. At the rise in opposition to this bill, for a simple fact, once again, this is one of, I was telling you earlier about funds that we seem to want to transfer money out of, and this happens to be one of them. Over the last 3 years, we've transferred $750,000 to the general fund over the past 3 years. So until we get our house in order, I'm not going to really be supporting any kind of fee increases for anyone, especially when we have had a practice in the past of taking this money and using it for other purposes. So with that, I would suggest a no vote.
Senator Price, you may close.
Madam President, these are clarifying measures discussed in committee, and I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Secretary, call the roll.
Onstead, Alquist, aye. Ashburn, Benoit, Calderon, Cedillo, aye. Cogdill, Corbett, Correa, Cox, Denham, DeSaulnier, DeChaney, aye. Dutton, Flores, Dutton, no. Flores, Hancock, aye. Harmon, Hollingsworth, no. Huff, Kehoe, aye. Leno, aye. Liu, aye. Lowenthal, aye. Maldonado, aye. Negrete McLeod, Oropesa, Padilla, aye. Pavley, aye. Price, aye. Romero, aye. Runner, Semidian, aye. Steinberg, aye. Strickland, Walters, Wiggins, Wolk, aye. Wright, aye. Wyland, Yee. Huff, aye. Yee, aye.
Call the absent members.
Denham, no. Onstead, Ashburn, Benoit, Calderon, Cogdill, Corbett, Correa, Cox, no. DeSaulnier, Flores, Harmon, Negrete McLeod, Oropesa, Runner, Strickland, Walters, Wiggins, Wyland. Wiggins, aye. Huff, aye to no.
Ayes 19, noes 5. Senator Price moves a call. Senator Cedillo, under motions and resolutions.
Yes, Madam Chair, I'd like to, at the request of the author, move item 100. That is AB 1405, and item 80, AB 1511, to the inactive file.
The desk will note. Are there any volunteers to take up an Assembly Bill third reading file item? Please raise your mic. Senator Ducheney, do you wish to take up file item 57? Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 410 by Senator Ducheney, an act relating to workforce investment.
Thank you very much. Madam President, members, this bill sets legislative goals and priorities to provide direction and oversight to the system, our Workforce Investment Act system, especially in light of the new stimulus funds through the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, which have been added to those programs. The amendments in the Assembly were chaptering that address conflicts that arose with another Assembly bill. They are technical in nature. It does require job training to be a priority for federal stimulus funds and requires EDD annual training expenditure report to include funds made available through the Stimulus Act. It will provide us better oversight and better coordination with all of these positive funds that we're using for workforce training. It is supported by community colleges, Workforce Association. Ask for your aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Seeing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? No. Benoit? Calderon? Cedillo? Cogdill? No. Corbett? Correa? Cox? Denham? No. DeSaulnier? Aye. Ducheney? Aye. Dutton? Flores? Hancock? Aye. Harmon? No. Hollingsworth? No. Huff? No. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero?
Aye.
Aye. Runner? No. Smidian? Aye. Steinberg? Strickland? Steinberg, aye. Strickland? Walters? Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Weiland? Yee. Cox? No. Cedillo? Aye. Strickland? No. Benoit? No. Dutton? No. Hollingsworth? No. Here you go.
Ayes 19, noes 11. Senator Ducheney moves a call.
How many Assembly bills do we have left to take up?
Senator Cox.
Madam President, I wish to remove item number 137 from the consent and move to the inactive file.
File item 137 from consent and move to the inactive file. Desk will note.
Thank you.
Is there any member who has an item to be taken up at this time for Assembly Bill third reading file?
Is he going to write it down?
Okay.
Senator DeSaulnier, you have 2 items on Senate third reading file that are 21 vote items. Do you wish to move these off of Senate third reading file at this time? Is that a yes? These are file items 76 and file item 77.
Yes.
File item 76. Secretary, please read.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 49 by Senator DeSaulnier relative to spending federal economic recovery plan funds.
Thank you, Madam President. This is a straightforward resolution. It says that the legislature, the California State Legislature, encourages the purchase of American goods and California goods by any Recovery Act funds, and I would ask for your aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Is there any objection to using the unanimous roll call? Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? Benoit? No. Calderon? Cedillo? Cogdill, no. Corbett, Correa, Cox, no. Denham, no. DeSaulnier, aye. Duchesne, Dutton, Flores, Hancock, Harmon, Hollingsworth, Huff, no. Kehoe, aye. Leno, aye. Liu, aye. Lowenthal, no. No. Lowenthal, aye. Maldonado, Negrete McLeod, Oropesa, Padilla, aye. Pavley, aye. Price, aye. Romero,
aye.
Aye. Runner, no. Smidian, aye. Steinberg, aye. Strickland, no. Walters, Wiggins, aye. Wolk, aye. Wright, aye. Weiland, Yee. Hollingsworth, no. Harmon, no. Hancock, aye. Dutton, no.
Ayes 16, noes 10. Senator DeSaulnier moves a call. File item 77. Secretary, please read.
Senate Resolution 27 by Senator DeSaulnier relative to employment discrimination.
Thank you, Madam President. Senate Resolution 27 encourages Congress to pass the Federal Employment Non-Discrimination Act of 2009. The Employment Non-Discrimination Act extends current employment discrimination protections to include discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity. Current federal law prohibits discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, national origin, age, disability, military service, and generic information, but not sexual orientation and gender identity. California has led the nation by passing comprehensive prohibitions on workplace discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity. For over a decade, the federal government has prohibited discrimination based on sexual orientation for federal employees. However, there is no federal law that consistently and expressly protects all employees from discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity. SR 27 encourages Congress to pass and the President to sign this important legislation to protect all employees from employment discrimination, and I would respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested, Alquist, aye. Ashburn, Benoit, no. Calderon, Cedillo, aye. Cogdill, no. Corbett, Correa, Cox, no. Denham, no. DeSaulnier, aye. Duchesne, Dutton, no. Flores, Hancock, aye. Harmon, no. Hollingsworth, no. Huff, no. Kehoe, aye. Leno, aye. Liu, aye. Lowenthal, aye. Maldonado, Negrete McLeod, Oropesa, Padilla, aye. Pavley, Price, aye. Romero, aye. Runner, no. Smidian, aye. Steinberg, aye. Strickland, no. Walters, Wiggins, Wolk, aye. Wright, Weiland, Yee. Wright, aye.
Ayes 15, noes 10. The resolution is adopted. Members, an SR needs the majority of those present and voting. The resolution is adopted. Senator Padilla, for what purpose do you rise?
Thank you, Madam President. I move that we dispense with Joint Resolution 61A12 and Joint Resolution 62A in order that AB 64 and AB 1260 may be heard in committee.
Without objection. Senator Harmon?
We're okay with that. Thank you, Madam President.
Without objection, those are waived. Senator Padilla, Will you please bring the items to the desk? Members, is there any other item to be brought up at this time?
Members, I want to give everybody an update as to where we stand in terms of the number of bills left to work. There are 40 assembly bills that are here, and I'll go speak, of course, to the Speaker, but currently many of them lack floor managers. And so if you are the floor manager for any of the 40 ABs, we're obviously quickly proceeding to the end of session here. There are 9 Senate bills back for concurrence and 12 ready to come over, plus an unknown amount that will still come over later in the day. So we're shrinking the size of the universe here, but we need to match up floor managers on the assembly bills and be ready to take up as many of the Senate bills as possible so that we can hopefully end today at a reasonable hour and then come back tomorrow on some major items to finish the session. And I need to read this. Important announcement. Without objection, SR 29.3 will be waived in order for committee amendments to be processed on the following bills: AB 411, AB 896, AB 1568, AB 1576, and AB 196. Any objection? Without objection, that'll be the order. Let us break for lunch. You're going to have caucus? Go ahead.
And caucus in the coffee shop, please.
Is there lunch in the... Okay.
Bring the Afghan food with you.
We will have a democratic lunch and informal discussion in the Maddie Lounge for those members who want to come. Thank you. What? Let's reconvene. Let's reconvene at 1:30. Okay.